just let the music play. I think this is Matt Ewan's favorite part of the show, and it's mainly just because, one, it was his idea. The other is because of the music. The music is absolutely fantastic. So, nothing but analytics. You can guess what that means. The NBA, as we stake essentially statistical profiles of these teams. We talk about what they're good at, what they're bad at, and how we can use this in terms of handicapping good matchups, bad matchups, once they get to start playing in the association and once they start playing these playoff matchups. Now, for a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, right? We talked a little bit about this with the Los Angeles Lakers, who we had at the beginning of the week. The Milwaukee Bucks, it's hard to find weaknesses for a team that is this good, that is power rated this high, and that is dominated as much as they have in the regular season. So offensively, for the Milwaukee Bucks, we get the strengths out of the way, and I think if you've watched Milwaukee, if you watch the NBA, you kind of know where we're going with the strengths here. The efficiency in terms of their offense, 6th best in the NBA, 112.3 points every 100 possessions. How they do it, their shooting at the rim is absolutely spectacular. They shoot 67% within 4 feet of the basket. That's the 3rd best rate in the association. And that's not surprising, right? Look at that guy right there who's sitting on your screen, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He takes 57% of his shots within 4 feet of the rim. With him on the floor, their rim accuracy jumps up by 6.1% as a team. So obviously, the game plan for them offensively is attacking the rim, and it translates into what their game is, right? They like to get in transition. They like to get up and down the floor. Usually when you get up and down in transition, sure, you'll find open three-point attempts, but for the most part, getting out in transition leads to really good looks within 4 feet of the basket. So it all kind of makes sense there, right? Now, when I was going over this from a statistical standpoint, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me was how good they were at mid-range shooting. And again, this is all mid-range. The cool part about a website, which, by the way, we get a lot of these stats from cleaningtheglass.com, which I cannot recommend anymore if you want to be if you want to keep up with a lot of the statistics that a lot of these teams have. But it breaks down everything really specifically, not only for players, but for teams. All mid-range shots, because they break them down by mid-range shots, short mid-range, long mid-range, and then all of them. In terms of all mid-range shooting, the Bucks are the 4th best team in terms of percentage. However, they're near the bottom of the league in terms of frequency. So the reason why they're so high, it's a mixture of two things, right? It's a short sample size. The other part of it is, like Chris Middleton, right? Chris Middleton is a spectacular shooter, and he's actually a really good mid-range shooter. He only takes 36% of his shots from the mid-range, but he hits at a 48% clip, which is really good for an inefficient shot for the most part that is slowly dying out. But another part of it is just the way they play their game, right? They take the 4th most three-point attempts in terms of frequency in the NBA, and part of that in the heat of a game is going to be, right, foot on the line, going a little bit farther up the floor, taking long mid-range shots. So that's going to be part of it, and I think that's why you see some of these numbers in terms of their mid-range game, because they don't take that many as a team. It's only 25%. So anyway, they're fantastic in terms of attacking the rim, and their half-court game is really good. They have the 2nd best half-court efficiency offensively in the National Basketball Association, averaging 99.6 points every 100 possessions. Now, you're going to ask yourself, well, that's below a point per possession. You figured at least a point per possession was pretty good. And half-court offenses, and as you can tell by this rating and where they rank, half-court offenses, if you're ranking above a point per possession, that's an extremely, extremely good efficient rate for a half-court offense, where things slow down, where the lane gets a little bit tighter, right, where you actually have to run plays. So to have a half-court efficiency floating around a point per possession, it's very good. And you mentioned, so you wonder, well, why is it so good? Because when Giannis is on the floor, their fast break frequency actually bumps up by 6.7%. That's a 100th percentile among players, all players in the NBA. But it's the spacing that a guy like Giannis provides, constantly drawing double teams, being able to kick it out to a whole bunch of shooters, from Eric Bledsoe, from Chris Middleton to Wes Matthews, like all the guys that they have on this team, Dante DiVincenzo, that are just built to shoot the ball coming off of double teams from Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that explains itself as well. Now let's get to some of the weaknesses, because what's interesting about Milwaukee is they're so good that even some of their weaknesses, both offensively and defensively, are actually well explained and nothing really to write home about. So, like, take a look at the three-point shooting, for example, right? It is considered a weakness right now for Milwaukee because they rank 17th as a team in terms of three-point percentage. Same with non-corner three-point percentage. They're 19th, shooting 34.8%. However, I already mentioned it to you, right? They rank 4th in terms of three-point frequency, the frequency at which they take three-point attempts. It's the same game plan as the Houston Rockets. You'd rather be inefficient in an efficient area of the floor than inefficient in an inefficient area of the floor. So, in other words, you want to take a lot of three-point shots because they're worth more. And sure, your percentage might not be as high, but it still makes sense to take all of those attempts. That's why something like their three-point shooting, which is bottom of the barrel in terms of actual percentage, and bottom of the barrel 17th is kind of strong, it's really actually not that worrisome because, again, you'd rather be inefficient at three-point shots than inefficient at mid-range shots, which is some of the issues for a team like Indiana or Denver, which we'll talk about later. But regardless, so you look at that. The weaknesses, nothing to write home about. It's perfectly explained. The other part of this I think is worrisome for their weaknesses is the offensive rebounding for them in the half court. We mentioned how efficient they are half court wise in terms of their points, but in terms of offensive rebounding, second chance points, in the NBA, they rank 21st in second chance points per game. So a really good rebounding team could be something that really throws them for a loop, right? A team like Los Angeles, both Los Angeles teams, I should say, a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, who I've contested, match up very well for them. A team who can rebound the ball very well, especially attack the boards and keep them off the offensive glass, to really exacerbate what has been a weakness for them, could be an issue for them. So let's go to their defense. It's hard to find weaknesses for the Milwaukee Bucks defensively. Like, look across the board. Efficiency, they're first, 101.6 points per 100 possessions. Shooting at the rim, they allow 54.7%, first in the NBA. They're first in mid-range shooting, 37.5%. Half-court efficiency, they're second, giving up just 88.9 points per 100 possessions. Fast break efficiency, they're fifth. So not only can they get up and down the floor offensively, they can also get back and guard efficiently defensively. And here's the other thing again about their weaknesses. Three-point shooting and non-corner three-point shooting. Opponents shoot 36% against the Bucks from beyond the arc. They shoot 36.3% in non-quarter three-point attempts. But that is the Milwaukee Bucks' defensive game plan. As you can see with their strengths, their defense is built all around cutting the rim off and not letting you get to within 4 feet. That's how it is. It's built from the inside out. And thus, you can guard the corners a little bit better, which are better and more efficient three-point shots, but it's just how they've played. And it's kind of similar to what we talked about, where you have a low three-point shooting rate offensively, but you have a high frequency. It's the same thing here. You'll give up three-point shots, but you can't give up easy shots at the rim, and that's how they built their offense around here. And so this is the intriguing part about Milwaukee is you have their weaknesses, but like they're weaknesses that are calculated, and they allow you to have them. So how do you take advantage of that? Well, it's attacking the offensive glass that we talked about before, and it's getting a team that can shoot so efficiently from three that it'll break you out of defending the rim as well as you do. And here's the other part about it, too, when you talk about defending the rim, because think about it. You have the two Lopez brothers. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's all built around size. And if you can take advantage of some of this with some of your matchups on the floor, getting a Brook Lopez or a Robin Lopez out in space, going a little bit smaller and trying to get these guys out away from within 4 feet of the basket, that's how you're going to take advantage of this. So the weaknesses are weaknesses, but they're not exactly glaring weaknesses for the Milwaukee Bucks. So who are the teams that are bad matchups for them? I would contest the list is short, and if we're ranking them in order, it would probably be the Los Angeles Clippers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. And the Lakers, the bottom of that list, mainly because, as we talked about on Monday, the Lakers aren't an overly efficient three-point shooting team. We know about the fact that they only have two guys who take over two three-point attempts per game. While shooting over 37%, it's not exactly something that they can exploit. And when your offense for the Los Angeles Lakers are all built within 4 feet, and you're taking on a team, the Milwaukee Bucks, that defense is built within 4 feet, it's not the best matchup, which is why we have them both as weaknesses for one another. Los Angeles Clippers are a team that can go small. They can throw out a Marcus Morris. They can go out there and stretch guys out a little bit more like the Lopez brothers, like Giannis, and force them to guard in space, although Giannis can do that efficiently well within his own right. And then you have the Philadelphia 76ers, who, this is the other part we didn't talk about with the Clippers, have at least a few guys they could throw at Giannis Antetokounmpo to slow him down. We know who it is for the Los Angeles Clippers. He did it in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That would be Kawhi Leonard. So there's your profile on the Giannis Antetokounmpo-led Milwaukee Bucks. Again, our Nothing But Analytics segment will have these every single, throughout the week as we now have an established postseason plan for the NBA and as we get closer to Orlando. So Nothing But Analytics will be back frequently throughout next week. And with that, we are done with The Edge. Make sure, if you missed out, because it is fight week, UFC 250 coming up, check out The Spot with Jordan Sherwood and Gil, who broke down the Washington Redskins with us, up at vsin.com/bestbets. And remember that VSiN Plus subs are free until a major sport returns. We will see you next week.